What's up, guys? Did you see Sydney Sweeney at the red carpet for the premiere of the Housemaid? I'm not sure if it's a TV show or a movie thing. I don't watch that shit. I think it's a waste of time. But whoa, God, Lord, they don't make them like that anymore. Big titty meat up top, beautiful white woman. They don't make them like that anymore, man. Holy shit. I could never do a movie with her. I'd be more nervous than a fucking foreskin in a room full of rabbis. I'll tell you that much. What's going on, guys? It's Monday, December 8th. Hope you're having a good day. But getting back to the main point, they don't make them like that anymore. I'll tell you that much. We can all agree on that. We see it. You see it sometimes, very rarely. There's very rare times you see a woman that's very well put together in today's age, right? This woman's our modern day Marilyn Monroe, right? 10 out of 10. Here's the thing. There's this modern day fucking back and forth. You know, there's got to be drama and everything. And whether she's a neo-Nazi, closeted neo-Nazi white supremacist. Listen, if this lady is a closeted leader of the Fourth Reich, I'm in. All right, you got me. You don't even got to fucking say anymore. I'll come to the meetings. I'll sit there in the back and be a quiet, good little boy. You just got to have Sydney Sweeney doing a talk there, right? Listen, when you look at these left-wing lunatics, these fucking weirdos, right? These pickle dick mutant fucks, you're left with a few options. You got A, Elliot Page. Number 2, you got a fucking bowling ball with legs. Right, and number 3 is you got these fucking cut guys that tell you that it's perfectly normal for their lady to be packing a 32-ounce meat missile. Should add one more. You got these women that are like flat Stanleys, right? You got Ariana Grande's that fucking wind comes and they blow away. You got to tie them down like a fucking tent. You got to tie a bowline just to keep them on the ground, keep them from flying away. But you know what all these people have in common? They all got fucking 3 or 4 different mental illnesses. They all got depression. They all got anxiety. They're all neurodivergent. They're all fucking, what do you call it? They're nonverbal, so they'll sit there and sway and play with their fingers and shit all the time. You know, they're on 4 different medications. They're on hormone disruptors. They're on fucking, a concoction of drugs. And then on top of that, they're smoking weed and fucking psychedelics and shit. And, they got all types of problems. And then they come to you and they demand that they're right. And they insist that they're right on their political opinions. And you go, how the fuck are you right in anything, by the way? How are you correct in anything? You don't even know who you are. You're confused in your whole sexuality and identity as yourself. And then you're going to insist that you're right in politics? Get the fuck out of here. You fucking weirdos. And then these people are the most annoying individuals on the planet. Like, I have a few people in classes and stuff that, you're around them and you're like, God, you are fucking insufferable. Honestly, I can't even have a good time with you. Like, no matter what I say, it's always a problem. It's always problematic. It doesn't, you could fucking hold an ice cream and go, well, you didn't get chocolate. Is that because you don't like black? Yeah, that's why. Yep. It's not that I like vanilla ice cream. It's because I don't like chocolate. That's actually how I make my decisions. Is I do the exact opposite of what I want. It's actually a much more intelligent way. Maybe you should try it. Maybe you should try shutting the fuck up. Maybe that might help both of us right now in this situation, right? And you just walk away. You just like, I can't with you anymore. I'm done. So when you compare those people with Sydney Sweeney, right? And I forgot to add, these people have 19 sexualities. They got fucking 2 different genders they can't decide between. They got a buzz cut or fucking short hair. And they got one side dyed green, the other side dyed yellow. And then their eyebrows are vice versa. They got piercings all over their body. It's a disaster, right? So when you compare people like Sydney Sweeney, beautiful white woman, sits there, fixes her cars, right? If you guys didn't know, loves cars. She wears overalls. She fucking gets the hands dirty like a blue-collar lady. Gorgeous, dresses up gorgeous. She doesn't fucking insist on her politics and that she's right. She doesn't fucking annoy you. You know what I mean? And then on the other side, you have the worst-looking people Like, the fucking plague would stay away from these people. Like, the devil sees these people and goes, ugh, I'm staying away from that. No, thank you. And moves on, right? And here's the thing. Here's the thing. Right? I'm trying to think of something to say. So here's the thing. I'm just going to keep saying here's the thing until I think of something to say. If you as a society, right, is going to say, hey, you got these two options to go down, A or B, and you're insisting B is correct with these leftists and these fucking weirdos, they're incessant, they're annoying, and they're wrong, right? But they're so egotistical that they believe that they're right. They absolutely understand. You're surprised. These people would be surprised when you go with Sydney Sweeney's Fourth Reich. And you know what, man? She needs to just come out. The best thing she can do for her career, when she did the Nazi stare or whatever at the Elise something, the reporter from the other day, and she does that stare, she just looks at him. She should go, Heil Hitler. That's what she needs to do, is just go, Heil Hitler. And that solve it and go, you two are Heil Hitler. We're all Heil Hitler. And just say it. Just double down on it, because these people are so retarded that they will have a heart attack right in the middle of the interview. Anyways, so apparently I'm a member of Sydney Sweeney's Fourth Reich now. So whenever there's the meetings, I'm waiting for an email. I'm probably not going to get it because I'm in Canada and I'm not fucking flying down there unless you're flying me out. And this pussy ain't cheap and I want first class. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode. It was Monday, December 8th. Got a fucking... Not that much. I'm just talking about politics. So if you're just looking for some fun time and that's all you got and your ADHD is telling you to leave now, feel free to take off. If you're interested in the politics, stick around. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. I know it's been a couple weeks now, but I've been busy. I've been busy with classes and they're going well so far. But I just wanted to hop on because I seen Guilbeault on November 27th quit cabinet. He quit Mark Carney's cabinet over the deal with Alberta, which just shows how petty you are, which I like that. I like someone who's petty enough to quit their cushy job just because they don't like a province specifically and a specific industry within that province. I highly respect it. But let me get the door. Don't let it hit you on the way out. And I also wanted to report that Stephen Guilbeault has been practicing. He's been running a lot of marathons, and he's practicing climbing the CN Tower naked once again. He's been taking Cialis. If I was sponsored by Cialis, I would have a promo code for you guys to use, but I'm not. Maybe they'll reach out in a few years when I'm big, but whatever. So I think he's going to probably try and... You know what? The CN Tower is kind of played out. No one really cares about it anymore. It's not something people care about anymore. He's got to up his game. So, what types of things can Stephen Guilbeault climb naked that would really get people's attention on the climate, that would really go and just hit people in the feels and make them go, wow, this man cares so much about the climate and so much about stopping Alberta's oil that that he would climb something naked. And it's a tough sell. I'm not really sure what kind of access he has anymore because he had security clearances and things like that. So I would say Parliament, maybe the Parliament Freedom Tower that we got there. Maybe Daniel Smith's house. He might try climb the hedgerow and climb onto the roof with a little tallywhacker out. Maybe. That could be a possibility. So I'm just having a sip of the coffee there. He can climb into a fucking wood chipper. He can do that. Fuck, maybe I'll bring a bear to him and he can climb in the mouth of a bear. Maybe he can climb into a fucking wood chipper naked. That'd really solve the problem. Right, Guinea? Hey, McGinnis. Hey, Guts. Ah, fuck it. They don't care anyways. So, yeah, this motherfucker quits because he's butthurt that Alberta signed a memorandum of understanding. Not just like we're going to build a pipeline. Just a memorandum was enough to set him off, which I love that Liberals care that much about a pipeline. But when it comes to, like, actually caring about, emergency wait times and doctors and people buying houses, and none of that really matters. Let's be honest. Nobody really needs a house. And the price of groceries, you know what? Let's talk about this for a minute. The price of groceries, I'm okay with them going up. I just read a report that, for a family of 4, the price of groceries is expected to rise by like $950 or $1,000, something like that. And I like that. That's a good thing. Here's why. It creates resilience. A lot of people don't have that hunger anymore to conquer, and that's because they're too full. Our grandparents in the Great Depression had almost nothing to eat, and actually per capita we have less to eat, but whatever, like more people are going hungry today. Anyways, it creates resilience, right, for the next war, which is probably coming in Venezuela or in Europe or in China and all over the place, which is good. It allows you to travel. But these prices, this is good because, let's just get right down to it. The real problem and the real cause is not inflation. Let's be honest. It's 1%. It's like 3%. That's like a couple nickels. It's not these companies that are price gouging. They have to make money, right? They got to make a little money. That's what this whole thing's about. What's the point of owning a store if you're not trying to make a little money, right? The real problem is, let's just name it. It's the fatty boombatties that are buying up all the food on the shelves. When I go into the stores and I see somebody who has their own gravitational field walking around and they got a scooter, first of all, don't give these people scooters. Make them walk. Like, if you're going to go in and get food and you got like a broken leg, then you can use it. But if you're too fat and you're getting in the handicap spot, first of all, you're getting priority parking. And then we give these people a motorized scooter to drive around in the shopping centers, right, in the grocery stores. We're just encouraging these people to be more fat. And these people go in and they buy, $700, 3 people's grocery bills, right? They spend $700 on food. Actually, my old supervisor was telling me she was a, pretty hefty lady. If she's watching this, I don't care. But, she would say, I spent like $350 in the last 2 weeks. I've been spending $700 a month on food. I'm like, no wonder you're fucking broke, man. First of all, maybe a little famine would do you some good. Some people, you know what, man? A little famine might fucking help this place out. But these people go in, right, and they just buy up all the food. When you go into the grocery store, there's no food on the shelves because all the fatty boobaddies are buying it, right? It's not that the companies are just price gouging or like colluding together. It's wrong. So, you know what? I'm okay with the price of food going up, and I'm okay with the Liberals not caring about it because I like paying more for groceries. I like making the Superstore and the Weston family, I want them to have another yacht. And that's what it is. I want to support their dreams of being able to vacation on 4 different yachts in the same year, on 4 different yachts, mind you, the same year in 4 different locations. I want to make that a reality for them, so I'm okay with paying more money, Fucking talk to me about feeding your kids. Kids are trans anyways. Who gives a fuck? Anyways, so this fucking guy quits, and I just wanted to talk about this like weak leadership at the what the fuck is this? Advertisement. Sorry guys, I'm getting distracted here. Mr. Dress Up, the Magic Make Believe. What is this about? Oh, it won't show me. I'm not clicking on it. Anyways, I want to talk about the weak leadership that we see in the Canadian political elite. And kind of it's getting really heated right now. There's a lot of events happening. None that you'll ever fucking hear about. These are all smoky room backdoor deals. And what you guys are seeing up on the TV screen or on Twitter or on TikTok, wherever you get your fucking news from, is like 10% of it. You know, I just seen that Carney and Daniel Smith signed a memorandum of understanding of the conditions that need to be met in order for them to approve a pipeline, which is never going to happen. This is just to fucking, you know, play the DJ on Daniel Smith, if you guys know what I mean. It's just to get him fucking horny and say, oh, we're getting a pipeline. You're not getting a pipeline. These people are not going to give you a fucking pipeline. These people talk about making Canada a superpower. Oh, we're going to be an energy superpower. What a bunch of bullshit. These people, for the last 10 years, all of these ministers have been talking about, oh, we need to be environmentally friendly and we can't fucking mine anything. And if you're starving, that's okay. And it's because the planet and you need to make sacrifice. And now all of a sudden these people have changed their fucking tune because Pierre Poilievre is gaining a lot of traction. Right? So it's just about power for these people. But, yeah, I wanted to talk about the whole trade negotiations between Canada and the U.S. and how Canada's kind of, it's not really playing the game, you know, and I know a lot of you guys don't like Carney. I'm not that big of a Carney fan. I don't trust him as far as I could throw the little Mr.Burns weasel fuck, the pickle dick fucking mutant. But, you know, I think that it's negligent to not realize that you're going to get wins with Mark Carney, and they're accidental wins. And you know, a lot of people talk about politicians and they're always pissed off, and you're never going to get everything you want unless you're prime minister, right? So you got to take the wins where you can get them. And I think you're going to get a lot of accidental wins with Carney. I think it's those what's the term in economics? If you guys remember, it's these unintended consequences. It's a term in economics. I'm forgetting it right now, but you know, he's of course looking after his investment portfolio and all his buddies at Brookfield. But I think with that, you're going to get a lot of accidental wins, and I think the pipeline's coming. To be honest with you, I think it's going a different route. I think Stephen Guilbeault was sat down and said, "You're either going to accept it or fucking get out. I don't really care." You know, so maybe I'll just start with this Trump thing. Let me take a sip of the coffee here. You know, you got Trump out there, and what the U.S. is doing, like Pierre Trudeau said, living beside the United States is like living beside an elephant. Every time it moves, you feel it, right? So I think that we're kind of tailoring our response to what the U.S. is doing. And, like, we're attached at the hip, like 80% of our economy and, like, 40% of the American economy. We're all tied together, right? It's such an intertwined economy. But, you know, you have Trump out there going, we don't need anything Canada has. We don't need anything Canada makes. We can all make it ourselves. We don't need your oil. We don't need your lumber. We don't need you. We don't need you. You don't pay our bills. You don't pay your bills. We're giving you 250. First of all, it was 100 billion. Then it was 200. Then it was 250. You know, $250 billion. What is it called? Like subsidy or foreign aid or whatever the retard said. And you know, obviously it's a bunch of bullshit. Like everybody in Canada knows it's horseshit. When you start, you know, looking at U.S. trade, you're going to get a lot of Americans go, oh, Canada attributes to such a small amount of U.S. trade. When you really start breaking those numbers down of what the U.S. is buying from us on a national economy, it's like a couple percentiles. But what they're buying makes the other 50% of the American economy. So without that 2% to transform the other, you know, 48% or whatever the fucking numbers are, that 48% is impossible. Right? And on a state level and on a local level, it's like 36 states their number one trading partner is Canada. Right? So if you start getting into too deep of a trade war with us, like we're not going to hurt Wall Street, which makes the majority of the U.S. economy. The U.S. economy isn't really doing that well when you take out the financial sector, which is a scam. We all know it's a scam. I mean, look at the what was that AI art during 2020, 2022? Tokens. What was it called? It was like artwork that you just hold. It's basically like Bitcoin, but they tried doing the same thing with art. Like it's just a succession of scams, right? The U.S. economy has just become a succession of scams since, the 80s. When you had the subprime mortgage thing, and you had the fucking, .com bubble, and then you have the inflation of housing and people using it as real estate investments and all this shit. It's just a succession of scams. Right, so when you take that out, it's the U.S. economy really isn't doing that well. The deindustrialization's really hurt it. And then you start a trade war with your closest ally who's, sells you a lot of products that your economy needs to manufacture. What's left of it, right? What's left of the manufacturing economy needs to make its products. You're now fucking with that. And nobody knows how to ruin a business better than Trump. He's done it, 7 times? He's come back 8, but it's always been because his friends are able to bail him out. He's always had like a hand that comes out and saves him. The guy's really not that good of a negotiator. He's really not that intelligent of like business-wise. Business is quite easy. I've been in business classes. I have people at my university. I've seen their tests. Their business tests. It is very easy. Let's not pretend like business, you need a degree in fucking physics to do business. It's literally money in, money out. You're selling things, right? And he's not that good. He is a very good salesman. He's very good at selling people and like getting their mind. You know what I mean? But anyways, so getting with this, he says that, Canada has nothing we need. We don't need to buy anything from Canada. Everything that, the Canadians sell, we can make ourselves. And vice versa goes the same for us. Like, you don't have any, to the American friends, the American economy doesn't have anything that Canada couldn't build itself, right? And we've seen that Canada used to build a lot of things itself. We had many aerospace companies. We had de Havilland and Aero and Bombardier, and there was 10, 12 companies, something like that. And they've all been amalgamated over time and bought out, and we kind of made the deals that, okay, we'll get rid of these ones and we'll keep buying Boeings and we'll keep buying all these fucking American companies, jets, right? And same thing with sailing companies. We used to have one of the biggest sailing industries in the world in the East. It's not really there anymore. Train tracks, all these things like oil pipelines. We used to have a bunch of companies. And throughout the years, we've kind of said, okay, America, we'll get rid of our defense industry. We won't make tanks. We won't make aircraft. We won't make any of these, combat rifle, battle rifles, any kind of rifle companies. We'll just buy them from you guys. And that's really helped the Americans, and it's really hurt us. So when you say that, Canada doesn't have anything, it's kind of true, but also it's vice versa, that we can also decouple from the U.S. economy. We don't need Ford cars. We can build our own. We have the plants. We just need, the kickstart to get these companies going again. And Canadian companies are very, very good. Everybody remembers the Avro Arrow. It was one of the most efficient and best fighter interceptors the world has ever seen. There's statistics based on its performance that it would have been able to keep up with the jets until the 90s, early 2000s because of its speed, its climb rate, its carrying capacity, its ability to fly in all weather, all the space that it had. It was a gigantic aircraft. It would have had so much space for new radars and all new instrument panels and yada, yada, yada. So, and now with the defense industry, and the Canadians we want to rebuild our military, right? We're doing huge investments. We are doing massive investments in the military. So we're going to see a lot of, especially like now we're hard ass, like we got to buy Canadian. You're going to see a lot of these defense industries prop back up. And it's not going to be like 2 years. It's going to be like 5 years before you really start seeing a lot of this shit come online and really start getting pumped out. And it's going to take time to decouple. I mean, we've been doing it for 80 years. It's going to take time. We can't just snap our fingers and uncouple immediately. But it's good. So that's an accidental win that we get from Carney, right? I just wanted to add that. That, you know, as much as these people are playing into the elbows up thing, you know, it's playing into that nationalism piece. And nationalism's been the most it's been since, you know, for the last few decades, right? And it's not about what it is right now. It's about what it's going into. And I think that elbows up thing is going to turn into like a maple leaf up kind of thing, where people get ultra nationalistic and we really start doing Canadian made things, Canadian priority things. So again, getting back to the Trump thing, I think the point that he wants and his strategy is to, and I think this is what he thought was going to happen with the election, that he was going to weaken Canada so much. And Canada, I think he misread it because he reads too much Fox News, that Canada's kind of like this broken country. It's not functional. It's no better than Haiti. It's on the cusp. All you got to do is kick it and it'll crumble, and they're all going to come crawling in and beg to be part of the U.S. and the 51st state. And I don't think he's joking about the 51st state thing. I really don't. I know a lot of people think it's hyperbolic, but I don't think he's going to invade yet. I think that would be a long ways down, even if he gets there, because again, we don't know if he's going to run for a third term in 2028. But if he does, I think it would be like 2030s where he tries it. Anyways, I think what he's trying to do with his Venezuela war is capture Venezuelan oil so that he can say, we don't need Alberta oil. And then it hurts Alberta's economy. He tries to isolate the Canadian economy because so much of it is tied to the U.S. And I think he's going to try and hurt the Canadian economy so much that people come crawling, or he tries to break apart Canada because of the failing economy. And it's kind of right there, right? Like you see all those separatists in Alberta. That's not an organic thing. Everybody that I know out here in Western Canada does not want to leave. We necessarily join the United States. It would be its own independent country, but it wouldn't be like a part of the U.S. And even those people who want it to be an independent country, they're very few and far between. And the main reason they would support it is because it's the Liberal government in Ottawa that keeps suppressing Western Canada. And it's something that's been going on for like 100 years. This isn't new, right? Suppressing Western Canada is not something that's fucking new. You can go back to 1915 and find, those political cartoons. Like, you can find political cartoons like that going back way to 1905 and before that. 1915, there's a good one with a cow that stretches across the country, and it's Alberta or Saskatchewan farmers feeding it, and then the fat cats milking it in Toronto. Anyways, I think he's trying to do that and just more encourage something to happen, and maybe that's when they can scrape up some land. But he wants our resources. That's really what it's about, because his biggest thing is the economy. Like the US is 38 and a half now. It's coming up to $39 trillion in debt. The only way that you can restore that is to pay off the debt. You cannot tax your way into enough money to pay off the debt. Americans just don't have that kind of money. So you have to grow the economy. And the economy just cannot grow because the U.S. government's in the way. You can't really fire all those people. You know, you had the Doge come in. They made a bunch of cuts. It really didn't make a dent because that money was already spent. And I don't just mean the money to those programs. I mean, once they got the money back, it was already out the door because the U.S. has a spending problem. Empires are expensive, right? Empires are very fucking expensive. It's not cheap. The pussy ain't cheap. You know, high-class pussy ain't cheap, right? And when you get when you get to that kind of success status, you got to be real careful about your finances. I mean, we watch these celebrities who have all this money, like Johnny Depp and Nicolas Cage and all these guys. They have all this money, and now they're broke, right? Because they weren't taking after their finances. That kind of manifests itself in the same way when you talk about big, expensive empires. They don't manage their money correctly, and they start getting taken advantage of, and just slowly and corruptly. Same thing happened with Rome, all these fucking countries, all these empires. So Trump's trying to pay off that debt and kind of get the U.S. in a better economic standing, but he can't do that by just saying, okay, everything's open for business. He's trying, but again, I don't think he's intelligent enough to figure out industrial policy, because he doesn't have any political training. He doesn't have any economic training. He doesn't have these kind of things, right? He just has a business degree, a simple business degree. And yes, he is very rich. I mean, there's no denying that. He doesn't pay his taxes. I wouldn't either. Like, if I had $1 billion, I wouldn't want to pay my fucking taxes either, especially with the way governments today are spending money. I would do everything in my ability to not pay taxes. That's just that's common sense. But I think what he wants to do is get Canada's resources to up the value of the U.S. economy, and by then bring back the purchasing power and all that shit of the U.S. dollar. I don't think he understands kind of what he's doing. I think he's in a different concept about it. But that's from my perspective, right, of what he's trying to do. I don't even know if he's aware of what he's trying to do. But this tariff policy, I just want to talk about this for a second. He's like, oh, tariffs are going to make us rich. Well, tariffs can only do two things. You can either even out, you can either make money through the tariffs, right? Or you can protect industry. Because you raise the prices of things from areas that are much cheaper to produce. You tariff that so it raises the price so it can compete with domestic. Or you can make a little money. Trump's saying we can do both. And those two things are diametrically opposed. It's just basic economics and it's basic logic, right? You can't make money but also protect the industry at the same time. It doesn't work like that. So that's why I think he doesn't fully understand what he's doing. He's just trying to. And I think that he's a little over his head, I think, and that's kind of why you're seeing the random back and forths, and we're doing this, we're not doing that, okay, we're doing this, we're not doing that. It's the tariffs are on, they're off, all this stuff. It's kind of like such a chaotic, weird thing. And it could just be him in a China shop smashing everything up and kind of, deconstructing the thing that's been built. The system in the U.S. that's been built. Who fucking knows, right? We won't know until 3 years past his presidency what he was trying to do when all the books come out. But I do think he's trying to isolate Canada because we're attached at the hip. We need to cross the ocean and to do any kind of trade with anybody else than the U.S. So I really think that eventually he's going to, he'll get too frustrated because he comes in, he's got a little concept of a plan, and then he kind of goes from there, right? He's very kind of shoot by the hip and just kind of figure it out kind of guy. And that can be helpful. It can also be detrimental, especially if you don't have the intelligence to maneuver your way through these things, which I don't think he has, to be honest. But anyways, I think in a while, once he gets too frustrated with this, he might try and move troops in, which the Americans are not ready to go to war with us. Now, in terms of our military, yes, we are undermanned. We're under-equipped right now. But the small things, we have a lot of. Every soldier has a gun. Every soldier has ammunition. Again, no country has enough ammunition to fight a war right now. Every country, when they war game it out, they only have ammunition for a couple days, and then they're out. Even the U.S., right? This is nothing new. The U.S. is also struggling for ammunition. We got a lot of Javelin missiles. We have the 50 calibers. We have recoilless rifles. We have LAVs. And we have those anti-tank missiles, those Javelins. Those things are fucking good. We have anti-aircraft shoulder-mounted missiles. And We don't really have much of the big stuff right now, which, again, heavily investing. We're getting like 90 Archer artillery systems, which are like semis with the artillery on the back, and it's all computerized. And it can shoot like almost automatic, like boom, boom, boom. Right, we're getting a bunch of new fighters. If we can ever make up our fucking mind, we're getting a bunch of new naval stuff. We're getting new submarines. We're getting new river-class destroyers, which have... Those things are pretty good for what you consider a modern-day warship. Those things are pretty fucking good. They got 2 Sea Whizzes on the front and the back. They have an anti-missile system. They have the ability to launch, I think it's like 32 Tomahawk cruise missiles. They have like the 32 compartments for cruise missiles, torpedoes. They have is it like 157 millimeter gun, helicopter area. They got a bay, everything. Like they have decoys for submarine attacks, everything, man. You know, these things are not bad. And they're building a bunch of them. They're building a bunch of those, what's it called? The icebreakers. There's those new Canadian Coast Guard icebreakers they're coming out with. Those things are very good, top of the line. You know, so we're building up again, and I think that we need to start going a little quicker because the Americans may get an idea, but I don't think that they're ready for the Canadian war fighter, specifically because they haven't fought a peer-to-peer adversary in a long time. And we know how Americans do war. We know all of the American strategies. We know how every one of them, like their planning works. We know their orders of battle. We know exactly which points they're going to want to go to. So we're going to have artillery trained on them. Like we're very sneaky like that. Like what we lack in straight up raw power, we make up for in ingenuity and efficiency. We're very good at our jobs. You know what I mean? So I think it would be like the initial invasion would do very well for the Americans. But once you start getting into those couple months and those couple years, you're going to start getting really fucking hammered. Anyways, so getting back to the Canadian perspective on it, I think you get a lot of accidental wins. Like when you get the Brookfield Pipeline Memorandum of Understanding thing. Brookfield's attached to it when you really look into it. But again, even if they attach the stipulation that Alberta has to build a carbon capture facility, taking carbon out of the air. Oh, it's a fucking waste of time. Right, but we're getting the pipeline. We can get rid of the carbon capture. When it doesn't work in 10 years, we can go, well, we blew $500 million on it. Didn't fucking work. Big whoop. We'll sell it. It'll get reconditioned into something else. And then we still have a pipeline. You can't decommission the pipelines, right? And a lot of it for like the natural gas, I'm not sure how much units, like cubic meters it can move, but all they got to do is turn up the tap, right? So I think those are going to be accidental wins with Carney saying we're going to build Canadian and investing heavily into the Canadian defense industry. I think you're going to see a lot of those old companies kind of flare back up or new companies kind of flare back up, take their place. Again, you're going to get a lot of those accidental wins. You're going to get a lot of losses too. I mean, as with every prime minister, there's been no prime minister that has been great. If you look at Stephen Harper, he allowed the Chinese central bank to come in and do banking in Canada. Not a great idea to allow the Communist Party to come in, do a little banking. You know, he allowed those police stations to get set up. Trudeau kind of just ignored it. Remember those Chinese police stations? You know, you call there and you're asking, hey, can I get wontons? Can I get some spring rolls? Can I get fried rice? Can I get the shrimp? And they go, who are you? And they hang up, right? You know, you try calling there and you think it's a Chinese food restaurant and it turns out they're tracking your location and now they're sending agents of the Chinese state to come and talk to you. But, you know, no prime minister has been that great, but I think you're going to get a lot of those accidental wins. I mean, Canada's looking at expanding its trade. You know, Carney's everywhere but Canada, trying to talk with trade. And a lot of these people are saying, oh, yeah, he went to Saudi Arabia. He came back without a deal. He went here. He came back without a deal. I mean, these trade deals take a long time to work out. there's like, a lot of the public doesn't know much about these trade deals and how difficult they are to really negotiate, because the other country's coming with things they want as well, and you got to meet them half there. And then there's like a laundry list of things, of little niches and little pieces of industry that you got to negotiate. And then you have to think about what kind of certificates that you're going to have to show the CBSA, and what, Canadian merchants are going to have to show the other country to be like, these are the goods, these are what we're carrying, this is what it's going to be sold for, all that kind of paperwork on the bureaucratic side. And then you got tariffs, like with, for example, the Canadian tariff on American milk after 250 million liters of milk or something like that, which Trump criticizes, but again, that's never been met, right? Because it's so much milk, and Canadians we haven't been able to consume that much. Maybe we will. You know what? No, because all the Indians don't drink milk. That's right. Fuck. Anyways, so I think you're going to see Canada's supply chains kind of decouple, and we're already seeing it. It's like a shrinkage of 6% in the U.S. market. So we're not at 80% anymore. We're at like 74, 73% of our trade now, which if we keep that up, we can be back down to 50% in a very short time, right? And by the end of Carney's first term, if he doesn't have a collapse of government, you could see a huge portion of Canada's economy decouple. And I would like to see us return to kind of the Dominion trading. Like Europe is having a lot of issues with meat and with supplying its meat demands, especially in the UK. I don't know why the UK is being so fucking stingy with Canadian tariffs on beef. Like, motherfucker, we are one of your child countries. Why are you being a cunt to us? Anyways, like, I don't know why we're not working out things to supply them with, like, not cheap meat, but more availability, right? And especially the same thing with France and with Germany. And I think we're going to build... it's hard because Quebec is such a fucking dickhead about it. They don't want anything. Even though, like, Quebec has a lot of oil. The thing about Quebec is nobody's getting in their way. They're getting in their own way. And the thing about the CAQ, I think that's the party in power. These people, they want to make it seem like Canada's holding them back, but then they can't make it too bad, right? Because then people get mad. So they're trying to walk a tightrope, even though there's a lot of prosperity, and they're trying to develop Quebec. They have to walk that line between Canada holding them back and allowing them to develop, and not being, and they don't want people being too rich, in a sense, because then it would be like, well, Canada's not holding us back. We're doing quite well here. So we have to, they're riding a tightrope, right? But they're getting in the way and they're being dickheads. Premier Rob Canoe, the Premier of Manitoba, is actually open to the Churchill Falls terminal expanding, which would be a big easing of the burden to get a pipeline built if we just had to go through Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba, right, into the Churchill, expanded port, and then we can get our shit out. It would be a longer journey to go through the Hudson's Bay and back through there, but at least we could get our products to Tidewater, and it can go to Europe, right? And under the Trudeau era, and we'd be fighting with the Americans on this one, but again, we're closer on both sides. If we could get a pipeline built to the Kitimat or Vancouver, and we can get a pipeline built to St. John's, our two coasts are closer to Europe and Asia than the Americans by a long shot. It's a minus of 2 weeks. So we can get there 2 weeks quicker per ship, or by ship, sorry. But like Poland, Germany, they decoupled from Russian oil. Hungary was looking at it, Austria. The Norwegians, I don't know if they can mine fast enough to keep up with European demands, but it would be something we should all look at. And I think that's what you're going to see with Canada's expanding its trade portfolio like you've seen under Stephen Harper. He was making trade deals with everybody. I personally think that we should start focusing on Japan because they have a lot of a growing population. They need a lot of resources. Same thing with Korea. They need a lot of resources. We can supply them. I think that we should be focusing on our Arctic friends and our close European allies by supplying Germany, Poland, and the UK with our resources, France with our resources. They could become those manufacturing powerhouses of Europe again. Italy's fucking cooking right now. They got a great military. They're coming back. They're going to reconquer Tunisia. They're going to crucify all those leaders like on the Appian Road and shit. You know what I'm saying? They're going to take all the Tunisians and crucify them again. But, sorry, that was Libya. My bad. Anyways, they're going to Muammar Gaddafi, every one of them. And they're going to take over. Roman Empire is coming back, is what I'm saying. But I think that we should be focusing on that. And I think that's what you're going to see with Carney. And it's going to be those accidental wins because once those things are done, you're never really going to undo them, right? You can't undo a pipeline. We can abandon that carbon capture thing. We can't really undo a pipeline. It's kind of there already. And you're going to have a lot of opposition. And it's going to be good because pipelines, I know a lot of liberals don't like to hear this, but one of the reasons Canada is able to offer free healthcare is because of the profits that come from the pipeline. A lot of people don't know that pipelines, the money that we make from the pipelines are almost single-handedly paying for the public healthcare system. And personally, I think that our leaders they're so weak. They're a bunch of pussies. Let's just be fucking honest. They're the dumbest twats you could possibly have put it in there. They're the weakest people. They have no courage. They have no principles. They have no values. They're not brave. They're not go-getters. They're very timid people. And I think that they don't really care about Canada because you would have a sovereign wealth fund like the Norwegians have. Like the Norwegians have like a $2 trillion wealth fund that funds all of their social programs. Anyways, so when you kind of see that stuff, it starts making sense that, Carney's flying around. And I don't like Carney. I don't like Mr. Burns. I don't like the pickle dick fuck. But those accidental wins I can get on board with because the next guy who takes over is going to be left with something a little better, which I think is a great, situation to be in. It's always better to be set up in a situation where you can kick ass than to be fucked over by the last guy, right? But again, when you go to the West Coast, you talk about David Eby, and he just said that something about the concern about the pipelines, that it was done without BC's knowledge, and once again, BC is being ignored. When the fuck has BC been ignored? You know what I mean? Like, you look at him and you go, fuck, I wish I could just make your face numb. You look at him and go, really? BC's ignored once again? Fucking since when? And he continued on with something that Alberta doesn't deserve a pipeline and doesn't deserve access to the $50 billion it would take to build it. You're like, how is Kinder Morgan able to build it with $3 billion? I think they budgeted for like 3.5-4 billion. How were they able to? And the government of Canada turned it into a fucking fiasco with the last one they built. I think it was a Trans Mountain. It turned into like a $36 billion disaster. How? Anyways, that's neither here nor there right now. You look at them and you go, do you want Canada to fail? Because like if you were to, hey, Logan, we need you to come up with a plan of what you would do if you wanted Canada to fail. I'd be like, well, we would stop Alberta and Saskatchewan from being able to export all of their resources, right? Because a lot of you guys don't know, yes, Alberta and Saskatchewan are smaller than Ontario, but we are almost single-handedly welfaring this whole country, right? When you talk about that, plus I think it's Newfoundland and Labrador. But, I mean, we kind of outpace them because we just have more, right? That we give welfare to Ontario. We give welfare to Quebec by the tens of billions. I think Alberta has been like $105 billion over the last decade. That's a fucking insane amount of money to give to a place that always acts so morally superior to us, right? And then you look at the BC Premier and he goes, these people don't deserve it. You're like, who the fuck do you think you are to get in front of us? And then you wonder why we don't like you. Anyway, so I think that's going to be the one big hurdle. I think Carney, is he going to push it through? Is he not going to push it through? It's hard to say because you don't know how much he needs to appease the environmentalists in the Liberal Party. But also, Brookfield and that money portfolio is going to be real fucking tempting. It's really hard to ignore good pussy, with a lot of money. And there's nothing worse than a hot-looking person with a lot of money. They're very obnoxious. So we'll see how that goes. What else? What else do we got here? What else is on the news?